The freedom scale. It's a very simple scale that managers and individual contributors can both use together to get promoted. Because I want to promote somebody and you want to be promoted. If you're staffers, we're both going to get promoted. I want you to get promoted. I'm going to tell you how to do that. All right, let's look at the management equation, vocational versus management time. Vocational time is time management. Vocational work is done by the individual contributor or the staffer, the person that does the doing. This is where we look at efficiency, where we get more done in less time. We do faster, better, cheaper of the individual contributor for time management. Managers don't deal with time management, they deal with management time. Do you see how we reverse the adjectives? Okay. And we'll talk about managers in just a second. The individual contributor is the person that does the doing. The individual contributors do the work. Now, the individual contributor, the staffer, and I use them interchangeably, individual contributor and a staffer. It can be a bricklayer, sales rep, accountant. It can be a body mechanic. It can be a car mechanic. It is the person that has the hands-on, that has the tools, and performs the work. It's Michael Heller that is sanding the desk on a Gulfstream. He does individual work, and he gets graded on how much output per hour, how many jobs he completes. He gets graded on the perfection, the quality of his work. He does perfect work. Come on in, you're just in time. Now, the manager defined, a manager defined is one that has the budget and the power to hire and fire. The individual contributor is the one that does the work. Okay. Now, I tried as hard as we could to make a complicated formula. This was as hard as we could make it. Now, you won't see this complicated formula in any other textbook because consultants and journalists and academics make a living out of making things complicated. This isn't complicated. It's frightfully simple. It's truth. And truth is always simple. For the individual contributor, the staffer, the knowledge equals performance. Your knowledge, skills, and abilities equals results. Our good friends in human resource departments or anti-personnel departments will list your knowledge, skills, and abilities of what you do best with your hands as an individual contributor. That is directly equal to your performance. What you know is equal to your results, to your performance. The individual contributor. Knowledge equals performance, and the measure for that is efficiency. We want to have tools to help the individual contributor. We want to have power equipment so that he can work faster, better, and cheaper. We want capital equipment in big factories so that the individual contributor, the factory worker, can turn out more widgets per hour. We want that individual contributor working, laboring away, slaving on a task, whether it's washing dishes or washing cars, to have machinery to exchange technology for labor so that he can get more things done perfectly in an hour. They're called labor-saving devices. Labor-saving devices to increase his efficiency. They're not called management-saving devices. They're called labor-saving devices. Management has a whole different equation. If you're staff, if you're an individual contributor, an entry-level employee, your work is graded on being, against grade, perfect. We want perfect work. If you're an accountant, all the columns, all the numbers got to add up. It's got to be perfect. If you're turning in a report, there can't be any misspellings. If I'm doing a press release, you can't misspell Barack Obama. It has to be spelled perfect is what we're looking for, without error. This is where you hear 6 Sigma, zero tolerance, job quality is job one. You want perfection. As a manager, you want perfection in your team, in your staff. If I'm on a machinist on a lathe and I'm turning a crankshaft, the tolerances for my error are going to be microscopic. I can't have an error because I don't want that piece of machinery to blow up. I need perfection. The work, the output, the performance of the individual contributor must be perfect. Let's look to the management side of that comparison. The work of the individual contributor must be perfect. Will the work of the manager, must the work of the manager be perfect? Let's see. Let's define some terms for it. Managers is normally getting work through others. We know management is traditionally defined as planning, organized, lead, motivating, control. The short answer is that management is getting work done through others. But I want to expand that just a little bit. It's not just getting the work done to others, but the real work of managers is to see that the work is done with the active support of others, of the staffers, of the individual contributors, the active support of others. Okay. So when Mr. Willis jumps out of his cubicle and has an assignment for me, I need his active support. If I take that monkey, or if that monkey jumps off his shoulders, I don't have the active support of my individual contributors. We'll talk about that more in a second. So, here is the complicated equation for managers. You can see that it's got a whole new element as part of the equation. Remember, for the individual contributor, the knowledge equal performance, we've got one extra piece for performance for the manager. This is going to be his network. Now, what the manager knows will not get off the ground without the active support of who he knows. His network, his support system. Is what the manager knows, yes, to be sure, but his support system will equal his performance. The only way that the manager can succeed is if the bureaucracy around him will help him. Okay. Now, let's do some numbers in the formula. Okay, let's just say that we're a knowledge worker. If we're staff, and we have 100% knowledge here, we'll get 100% performance here. Okay, that's 100%. But let's say we're the manager here. Manager. Okay. I can be the smartest person in the room. I can have perfect knowledge as the manager. I know everything. And as a manager running some units, I behave that way too. And as the manager, I have perfect knowledge. I'm the smartest guy in the room, but everybody hates my guts. What kind of performance am I going to get? Nothing. It's going to be F. It's going to be bad. I have to have what kind of support? Active support of my network. Okay. So now let's just say that I don't know anything about my job, but I've got the active support of my network. So I know nothing here. I got good support here. What kind of grade am I going to get as a manager? Could be pretty good. Does that make sense? Got two different grades for the individual contributor, the staffer, and a different grade for the manager. The manager must have support of his network, of his contacts and friends. He must have support of the people around him, of his network. Now, in the mid-1990s, I was president of a small software company. The company, on a couple of floors, had some very, very smart people in that company. I was not one of them. The coders were smart enough to know they knew how to manage me. They were perfect in their coding, but they knew enough not to let me get near a keyboard. I didn't know much about coding here, very, very little, not even enough to be dangerous. But the staff actively supported not just what I did, but the mission of the company, and it made me look good. Whatever success that I had was because of the active support of the coders who knew what they were doing. I trusted their character. I trusted their competence. And they trusted me.